The night sky over the Atacama Desert in Chile was clear and filled with stars. Inside the control room of the large millimeter telescope, Dr. Elena Rodriguez sipped her coffee, her eyes fixed on the computer screens in front of her. It was just another quiet night shift, or so she thought. Suddenly, a strange pattern appeared on her monitor. At first, she thought it was a glitch, but as she looked closer, her heart began to race. The signal was unlike anything she had ever seen before. "Carlos, come look at this," she called out to her colleague. Carlos hurried over, his eyes widening as he saw the screen. "Is that what I think it is?" Elena nodded slowly. "I think we just detected an alien transmission." Within hours, the news spread like wildfire. Scientists from around the world confirmed the signal's authenticity. It wasn't a natural phenomenon or a technical error. It was a message from another civilization. As the world woke up to this extraordinary news, governments scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were called, and world leaders gathered to discuss this unprecedented situation. In Washington, D.C., President Sarah Thompson addressed the nation. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world," she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Today, we face a moment that will forever change the course of human history. We are not alone in the universe." Meanwhile, in Beijing, the Chinese government called for calm and unity. President Lai Wei spoke to his people, emphasizing the need for global cooperation in this new era. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, delegates from every country gathered for an emergency session. The usual political rivalries were set aside as humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. Dr. Rodriguez, now a celebrity in the scientific community, presented her findings to the UN General Assembly. "The signal contains a message," she explained, her voice echoing through the hall. "Our best linguists and cryptographers are working around the clock to decipher it." As days passed, more details emerged. The alien civilization, calling themselves the Zoraxians, proposed a peaceful first contact. They expressed their desire to meet humanity and share knowledge. The news sparked a mix of excitement and fear across the globe. In New York City, people gathered in Times Square, their eyes glued to the giant screens displaying the latest updates. In Tokyo, technology company stocks soared as investors anticipated a leap in innovation. In Mumbai, spiritual leaders offered prayers for wisdom and protection. Not everyone welcomed the news with open arms. In London, protesters gathered outside Parliament, demanding caution and preparation for potential threats. Conspiracy theories spread online, some claiming the whole thing was a hoax, others insisting it was the beginning of an invasion. To address these concerns and coordinate a unified response, world leaders formed the Global Extraterrestrial Response Team, GERT. The team included top scientists, diplomats, and military strategists from various nations. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a renowned xenobiologist from Japan, led the scientific division of GERT. "We must approach this with open minds and careful preparation," she said during a press conference. "This is an opportunity to learn and grow as a species." General Marcus Stone, a decorated U.S. Army veteran, headed the security aspect of the mission. "While we hope for peace, we must also be ready for any scenario," he stated firmly. As the day of first contact approached, the world held its breath. Schools and businesses closed, and people gathered around televisions and live streams, waiting for updates. The chosen meeting point was a remote area in the Australian outback. A temporary base was set up, equipped with the latest communication and defensive technologies. Representatives from every nation on Earth were present, a united front to greet the visitors from the stars. As the sun set on the eve of the historic meeting, Dr. Rodriguez stood outside the base, gazing at the sky. The same stars she had studied for years now held a new meaning. Tomorrow, everything would change. "Are we ready for this?" Carlos asked, joining her. Elena smiled, a mix of nervousness and excitement in her eyes. "Ready or not, it's happening. This is our moment, Carlos. The moment humanity takes its first step into a larger universe. As night fell, the world waited, poised on the brink of a new era. The aliens were coming, and nothing would ever be the same again. The day had finally arrived. People all over Earth woke up early, their eyes glued to screens big and small. Today, humanity would meet aliens for the first time. In the Australian outback, the air was thick with tension. The temporary base buzzed with activity as final preparations were made. Dr. Elena Rodriguez checked her equipment one last time, her hands shaking slightly. Suddenly, a loud gasp from outside caught everyone's attention. Elena rushed out of her tent, looking up at the sky. There, breaking through the clouds, was an enormous spaceship. It was unlike anything humans had ever built, sleek, silver, and impossibly large. "It's beautiful," whispered Carlos, standing next to Elena. As the ship descended, a hush fell over the crowd. Soldiers stood at attention. Scientists held their breath, and world leaders straightened their ties. The future of humanity hung in the balance. The alien ship hovered a few hundred feet above the ground, then slowly lowered a ramp. Everyone waited, hearts pounding. 3 figures appeared at the top of the ramp. They were tall, with blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. They wore shimmering suits that seemed to change color as they moved. The aliens glided down the ramp with grace. As they reached the bottom, United Nations Secretary-General Amina Okafor stepped forward to greet them. "On behalf of the people of Earth, welcome to our planet," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. The tallest alien raised a hand in greeting. To everyone's surprise, it spoke in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Zoraxians. We come in peace and friendship." A cheer erupted from the crowd. Reporters rushed to capture the historic moment on camera. Social media exploded with the news, and people around the world celebrated in the streets. The aliens were invited into a large tent for the official welcoming ceremony. Inside, they met with world leaders, scientists, and cultural ambassadors. President Thompson shook hands with the Zoraxian leader. "We have so many questions for you," she said with a smile. The alien nodded. "And we for you. But first, we bring gifts." With a wave of its hand, objects began to materialize on a nearby table. There was a small device that the aliens explained could clean polluted water instantly. Another gadget could predict earthquakes days in advance. The third item looked like a simple bracelet, but the aliens said it could cure most known human diseases. The human delegates were amazed. Dr. Tanaka examined the gifts with wonder. "This technology is centuries ahead of ours," she said. General Stone watched the proceedings with a mix of awe and caution. The aliens' power was impressive, but also concerning. He made a mental note to discuss security measures with other military leaders later. As the day went on, the aliens shared more about their civilization. They came from a planet they called Zorax, many light years away. They had been observing Earth for centuries and decided now was the time to make contact. "We believe both our species can benefit from this relationship," the Zoraxian leader explained. "We can share knowledge, culture, and resources." The human leaders were eager to learn more. They asked about space travel, alien biology, and the mysteries of the universe. The Zoraxians answered patiently, but some of their explanations went over even the smartest humans' heads. As night fell, a grand dinner was held to honor the visitors. Chefs from around the world had prepared Earth's finest dishes. The aliens tried each one politely, though it was clear they didn't need to eat the same way humans did. During the dinner, one of the aliens noticed General Stone's medals. "Ah, you are a warrior," it said. "We'd be very interested in learning about your weapons and defenses." General Stone hesitated. "Perhaps we could discuss that another time," he said carefully. The alien nodded, but there was a glint in its eye that made Stone uneasy. As the historic first day came to an end, humanity went to sleep filled with hope and excitement for the future. But in the shadows, unseen by most, The seeds of tension were already beginning to sprout. The Zoraxians had arrived, and Earth would never be the same again. But would this new era be one of peace and progress, or was something more sinister on the horizon? Only time would tell. A week had passed since the Zoraxians' arrival. The initial excitement was starting to fade, replaced by a growing sense of unease among some humans. In a high-security meeting room in Washington, D.C., General Marcus Stone paced back and forth. He was meeting with President Thompson and other top officials to discuss recent developments. "Madam President," Stone began, his voice tight with concern, "the Zoraxians have been asking more and more questions about our military capabilities. I don't like it." President Thompson frowned. "They say it's just curiosity, part of cultural exchange." "With all due respect," Stone replied, "I think it's more than that. They're gathering intelligence." Just then, an aide rushed in with a message. The Zoraxian ambassador was requesting an official inspection of Earth's military bases. The room fell silent. This was unprecedented. After a long debate, the world leaders reluctantly agreed to the inspection, hoping to maintain good relations with the aliens. The next day, at a military base in Texas, General Stone watched as 3 Zoraxians examined human fighter jets. The aliens' faces were hard to read, but Stone thought he saw a flicker of amusement in their large eyes. One Zoraxian picked up a rifle, turning it over in its hands. "Interesting," it said. "You still use projectile weapons." Stone nodded stiffly. "They've served us well." The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "How quaint. On our world, we outgrew such primitive tools centuries ago." Stone felt his face grow hot with anger and embarrassment. He opened his mouth to respond, but President Thompson, who was overseeing the inspection, shot him a warning look. As the inspection continued, the Zoraxians became more openly dismissive. They called human tanks rolling metal coffins and described Earth's most advanced stealth aircraft as almost adequate for atmospheric flight. The final straw came when they reached the nuclear weapons facility. The lead Zoraxian actually chuckled at the sight of Earth's most powerful weapons. "You consider these a deterrent?" it asked, not bothering to hide its mockery. "We could neutralize your entire nuclear arsenal from orbit without breaking a sweat." General Stone's fists clenched at his sides. Even President Thompson looked shaken. As the inspection ended, the Zoraxian ambassador turned to the human leaders. "We appreciate your openness," it said smoothly. "Rest assured, we have no hostile intentions. Your weapons, outdated as they are, pose no threat to us." After the aliens left, Stone turned to the president. "You see now," he said urgently. "They're not here as friends. They're assessing if we're worth conquering." President Thompson looked troubled. "Let's not jump to conclusions, but we should prepare for all possibilities." Unknown to the humans, aboard the Zoraxian mothership, a secret meeting was taking place. The alien leaders gathered around a holographic display of Earth. "Their defenses are pathetic," one Zoraxian sneered. "We could take this planet in days." Another alien nodded. "The humans are primitive, but their world is rich in resources we need, and they would make excellent servants." The Zoraxian Supreme Commander raised a hand for silence. "Patience," it said. "We must not act hastily. Continue to gain their trust while we finalize our plans." Back on Earth, in a hidden underground facility, a team of human scientists and engineers worked tirelessly on a secret project. Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead researcher, stared at complex diagrams on multiple screens. "How's progress?" General Stone asked as he entered the room. Dr. Chen turned, her eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. "We're close, General. The Railgun prototype is almost ready for testing." Stone nodded approvingly. "Good. The brass thinks I'm paranoid, but I say we need every advantage we can get." As he left the facility, Stone looked up at the night sky. The Zoraxian mothership was visible, a tiny dot among the stars. It looked peaceful, but Stone knew better. A storm was coming, and humanity needed to be ready. In homes and offices around the world, people went about their daily lives, oblivious to the dangers lurking above. The Zoraxians' true intentions remained hidden, and Earth's secret weapon was still untested. The stage was set for a conflict that would determine the fate of humanity, and time was running out. Deep underground, in a secret facility known only as Project Thunderbolt, Dr. Sarah Chen wiped sweat from her brow. She had been working for 36 hours straight, but she couldn't stop now. The fate of humanity might depend on her team's work. Dr. Chen, a young engineer, called out, "We fixed the power surge issue in the main coil." Sarah nodded, a small smile on her tired face. "Good work, Alex. Let's run another simulation." The room hummed with energy as computers processed complex calculations. On a large screen, a 3D model of the Railgun prototype spun slowly. General Stone entered the lab, his face grim. "Doctor, please tell me you have good news. The Zoraxians are getting more aggressive in their cultural exchanges. I don't like it." Sarah turned to face him. "We're close, General. The latest simulations show a 92% success rate. We just need tow." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and a computerized voice announced, "Warning, power surge detected. All personnel evacuate immediately." "Not again." Sarah groaned. She rushed to a control panel, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "Alex, reroute power from sectors 3 and 4. Way, check the coolant systems." The team worked frantically, shouting instructions and status updates. General Stone watched, amazed at their coordination and determination. After tense minutes that felt like hours, the alarms fell silent. Sarah let out a deep breath. Crisis averted, but we're still not there yet. Stone put a hand on her shoulder. "You and your team are doing the impossible, Dr. Chen, but we're running out of time. The President is under increasing pressure to share more of our technology with the Zoraxians." Sarah's eyes flashed with determination. "Give us 48 more hours. We'll have a working prototype ready for testing." Over the next 2 days, the team pushed themselves to the limit. They took turns napping on cots in the corner while others worked. Coffee cups piled up, and the air grew stale with the smell of electronics and stress. Finally, on the morning of the 3rd day, Sarah stood before her team, her eyes bright despite her exhaustion. "Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've done it. It's time for a live test." The prototype railgun was moved to an underground testing range. It was massive, easily the size of a small house, with coils of wire and banks of capacitors surrounding a long, smooth barrel. Sarah's team took their positions at various control stations. General Stone and other military officials watched from behind thick protective glass. "Charging main capacitors," Alex announced. The air crackled with electricity. The hair on everyone's arms stood on end. "Target acquired," Wei said, her voice tense. Sarah took a deep breath. "Fire when ready." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like a thunderclap, a bright flash erupted from the railgun's barrel. On the view screens, they watched as the projectile, traveling at over 30 times the speed of sound, obliterated the target downrange. The room erupted in cheers. People hugged each other, laughing and crying with relief and joy. General Stone's eyes were wide. "My God," he whispered, "it actually works." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Not bad for primitive human technology, right? But their celebration was short-lived. An aide rushed in, his face pale. "General, you need to see this." On a nearby screen, they watched a live news broadcast. The Zoraxian mothership was moving, taking up a lower orbit around Earth. The news anchor's voice was shaky. "The Zoraxian ambassador has announced that they are adjusting their position to better assist humanity. But some experts are concerned that this new orbit puts the alien ship in a more strategic position." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. General Stone turned to Sarah, his face grim but determined. "Doctor, how quickly can we scale up production?" Sarah looked at her team, saw the same determination reflected in their eyes. "We'll find a way, General. We have to." As they got back to work, Sarah glanced at the screen showing the Zoraxian ship. For the first time since the aliens arrived, she felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity had been underestimated, but they were about to show the universe what they were truly capable of. The race against time had begun. The world woke up to chaos. In the early hours of the morning, the Zoraxian mothership had launched a massive attack on Earth's major cities. New York skyscrapers crumbled under alien energy beams. Tokyo was engulfed in strange, purple flames that water couldn't extinguish. In Moscow, people ran screaming as smaller alien ships zipped through the streets, firing at everything that moved. At the White House, President Thompson stared at multiple screens in horror. "How could we have been so blind?" she whispered. General Stone burst into the room. "Madam President, we need to evacuate you immediately. Our forces are overwhelmed." As they rushed to the underground bunker, reports flooded in from around the globe. The alien attack had been sudden and devastating. Earth's military forces were caught off guard, their weapons seemingly useless against the advanced Zoraxian technology. In London, the British Prime Minister watched helplessly as the alien ships easily dodged missiles and fighter jets. "It's like they're toying with us," he said, his voice shaking. The Zoraxian leader appeared on all communication channels worldwide. Its once friendly demeanor was gone, replaced by cold arrogance. "People of Earth," it announced, "your planet now belongs to the Zoraxian Empire. Surrender, and you may live as our servants. Resist, and you will be annihilated." In China, a squadron of jets attempted to attack the alien ships. Their missiles exploded harmlessly against the Zoraxian shields. In response, a single alien blast wiped out the entire squadron. At NASA headquarters, scientists frantically tried to re-establish contact with astronauts on the International Space Station. But it was too late. The station had been destroyed in the first wave of the attack. Underground, in the secret facility, Dr. Sarah Chen and her team worked desperately to prepare the Railgun for combat. They had been ready to start mass production, but now they had only one prototype. "We need more time." Sarah shouted over the sound of distant explosions. Alex, her young engineer, looked up from his console. "Dr. Chen, we're picking up a transmission. The aliens are heading this way." Sarah's heart raced. They must have detected the energy signature from their last test. "We have to move the Railgun," she ordered. "Now." As they loaded the massive weapon onto a transport vehicle, Sarah prayed it would survive the journey. It was humanity's last hope. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower collapsed under alien fire, its metal frame twisting like melted plastic. The Zoraxian ships seemed to take pleasure in destroying Earth's landmarks. At the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, delegates from countries around the world gathered for an emergency session. The building shook with nearby explosions as they debated their options. "We must surrender," cried one delegate. "We can't win this fight." But others disagreed. "Humanity will never bow to tyrants," shouted another. "We must resist." As they argued, a Zoraxian ship appeared outside the windows. With a blinding flash, the entire building was vaporized. Back in Washington, President Thompson emerged from the bunker to address what remained of her military command. "We cannot let Earth fall," she said, her voice firm despite the fear in her eyes. "What's the status of Project Thunderbolt?" General Stone stepped forward. "Dr. Chen and her team are en route to a secure location. But, Madam President, even if the Railgun works, we only have one. Against an entire alien fleet." The President's jaw set in determination. "Then we make it count." Across the globe, pockets of resistance formed. In Brazil, a group of civilians managed to bring down a small alien ship using nothing but homemade explosives and courage. In India, hackers worked tirelessly to breach the Zoraxian communication systems. But these small victories were dwarfed by the overwhelming alien force. City after city fell. Millions were dead or missing. The sky, once blue, now glowed an ominous red from the constant weapons fire. As night fell on the first day of the invasion, humanity teetered on the brink of extinction. The Zoraxians seemed unstoppable, their technology far beyond anything Earth could muster. Yet, racing through the countryside, hidden from alien sensors, a single truck carried humanity's last hope. Dr. Chen looked at the Railgun prototype, then at her determined team. "We're not done yet," she said softly. "Earth still has a few surprises left." The battle for Earth had only just begun. Dawn broke over a world in ruins. Smoke rose from the ashes of once great cities, and the sky was filled with Zoraxian ships. But in a hidden mountain base, hope was stirring. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team had worked through the night, setting up the Railgun prototype. Their faces were streaked with dirt and sweat, but their eyes shone with determination. "Final systems check," Sarah called out. Her team responded with a series of affirmatives. General Stone entered the control room, followed by President Thompson. Both looked haggard, but there was a spark of hope in their eyes. "Dr. Chen," the president said, "the fate of humanity rests on your shoulders. Are you ready?" Sarah nodded, her throat tight. "As ready as we'll ever be, Madam President." Suddenly, alarms blared. A young technician shouted, "Massive energy signature detected. A Zoraxian command ship is entering our airspace." On the main screen, they watched as an enormous alien vessel, easily the size of a small city, descended from the clouds. It was heading straight for what remained of Washington, D.C. General Stone's face hardened. "That must be their main command ship. If we can take it out, we might have a chance," Sarah finished. She turned to her team. "This is it, people. Let's show these aliens what humans can do." The mountain base's camouflage shields dropped, revealing the massive railgun. It looked almost primitive compared to the sleek alien ships, a long barrel surrounded by coils and capacitors. In the Zoraxian command ship, the alien leader sneered at the human weapon. "Look at their pathetic attempt to fight back," it said to its subordinates. "Prepare to obliterate their last hope." Back in the control room, Sarah's fingers flew over the controls. "Charging main capacitors," she announced. The air crackled with electricity, and the lights dimmed as the railgun drew massive amounts of power. "Target locked," Alex called out. President Thompson leaned forward, her knuckles white, as she gripped the back of a chair. "Fire when ready, Dr. Chen." Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment that would decide the fate of humanity. She pressed the firing button. For a split second, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like 1,000 thunderclaps, the railgun fired. A projectile, accelerated to unimaginable speeds by electromagnetic forces, shot out of the barrel. It moved so fast that it left a vacuum in its wake, creating a sonic boom that shattered windows for miles around. Everyone watched the main screen, holding their breath. The projectile, glowing white-hot from air friction, streaked towards the Zoraxian command ship. In the alien vessel, alarms blared. The Zoraxian leader barked orders, but it was too late. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons and conventional explosives, were useless against a solid projectile moving at such incredible speed. The railgun round punched through the alien ship like it was made of paper. For a moment, the massive vessel hung in the air, a glowing hole visible straight through its center. Then, with a blinding flash, it exploded. The control room erupted in cheers. People hugged each other, laughing and crying with relief. President Thompson turned to General Stone, tears in her eyes. "We did it," she whispered. But Sarah wasn't celebrating yet. "It's not over," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "We need to take out as many ships as we can before they regroup." For the next hour, the team worked tirelessly. The railgun fired again and again, each shot taking out another Zoraxian ship. The aliens, caught off guard by this unexpected and devastating weapon, fell into disarray. As the sun set, the sky was clear of alien ships for the first time in days. The Zoraxian invasion force was in full retreat, fleeing back to space. In cities around the world, people emerged from hiding to see the alien ships vanishing into the sky. A cheer went up, starting small but growing until it seemed the whole planet was celebrating. Back in the mountain base, Sarah finally allowed herself to smile. She looked at her team, exhausted but triumphant. "We did it," she said. "We saved Earth." General Stone put a hand on her shoulder. "No, Dr. Chen, you didn't just save Earth. You showed the universe that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." As night fell, the stars came out, no longer hidden by alien ships, and for the first time since the invasion began, the people of Earth looked up at those stars not with fear, but with pride. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. The future, once so dark, now shone with possibility. The weeks following the Zoraxian retreat were a blur of activity. As the dust settled, humanity began to rebuild and reflect on their narrow escape from extinction. In Washington, D.C., or what was left of it, President Thompson stood before a crowd of survivors and reporters. The White House was gone, replaced by a makeshift podium amidst the rubble. "My fellow citizens of Earth," she began, her voice strong despite her visible exhaustion. "We have faced our greatest challenge and emerged victorious. The Zoraxian threat has been defeated, thanks to human ingenuity, courage, and unity." Cheers erupted from the crowd. People waved flags of various nations, but there was a new symbol gaining popularity: a simple image of Earth with a railgun silhouette. Meanwhile, in orbit, a joint task force of international space agencies worked to clear the debris of destroyed alien ships. As they worked, they made an exciting discovery. "Dr. Chen," Alex's voice crackled over the radio. "We've managed to salvage some intact Zoraxian technology. The advancements we could make with this." Sarah, who was overseeing the cleanup from a ground station, smiled. "Careful, Alex. That's how we got into this mess in the first place. But you're right. We have a lot to learn." As nations rebuilt, a new era of global cooperation emerged. The railgun technology was shared freely, with multiple countries working together to create a planetary defense network. In Geneva, the United Nations convened a special session. Representatives from every country gathered to discuss humanity's future. "We propose the formation of a united Earth government," the U.S. ambassador announced, "to ensure we're prepared for any future threats and to lead humanity into a new age of space exploration." The idea was met with widespread approval. Old rivalries seemed petty in the face of what they had all endured together. But not all was peaceful. In a secret facility, General Stone interrogated a captured Zoraxian officer. "Why did you really come to Earth?" Stone demanded. The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. "You were meant to be an easy conquest, a footnote in our empire's expansion. Instead, you've become a legend." Stone leaned closer. "What do you mean?" "Word of your victory is spreading across the galaxy," the Zoraxian replied. "Many thought you would be extinct by now. Instead, you've defeated one of the most powerful fleets in the known universe. Others will come, seeking alliance or challenge." As this news spread, humanity realized their victory was just the beginning. Earth began preparing for its new role on the galactic stage. In universities and research labs around the world, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly. They combined salvaged alien technology with human innovation, making leaps in fields like space travel, energy production, and medicine. Dr. Chen led a team developing faster-than-light communication. "Imagine," she told her colleagues, "being able to talk to other civilizations across the galaxy in real time." The railgun, once a weapon of last resort, was being adapted for peaceful purposes. Plans were drawn up for massive railgun space launchers, capable of sending ships and cargo into orbit at a fraction of the previous cost. 6 months after the invasion, humanity launched its first faster-than-light probe. People around the world watched in awe as it winked out of existence, heading towards distant stars. On the anniversary of the Zoraxian defeat, a global celebration was held. In every city, people gathered to remember those lost and to look towards the future. In New York, now rebuilt with a mix of Earth and alien architecture, Dr. Chen found herself on stage next to President Thompson and other world leaders. As she looked out at the cheering crowd, she felt a mix of pride and humility. A year ago, President Thompson said to the assembled billions watching worldwide, "We were mocked as primitive. Today, we stand as equals among the stars. We have proven that humanity's greatest strength is not in our weapons, but in our spirit, our curiosity, our determination, our ability to come together in the face of overwhelming odds." She paused, looking up at the night sky. A new space station was visible, its lights twinkling among the stars. "We go forward now, not in fear of what's out there, but in hope of what we might discover. The universe awaits, and humanity is ready." As fireworks lit up the sky, people cheered and hugged each other. Earth had faced its trial by fire and emerged stronger than ever. The future, once so uncertain, now shone with limitless possibility. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, ready for whatever adventures or challenges the galaxy might bring.